What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Rad Dad channel video, or welcome if it's your first time. Either way, very glad to have you. You guys saw the thumbnail, you know what we're doing. I feel like every intro I say pretty much the same thing. Either way, this is the stock air cleaner, and you'll see when we go ahead and take the cover off, it's old. It is definitely past its useful time. We have a fresh DK Custom 606 air cleaner. I'm super excited to install that. We'll talk about why I chose that and the differences and benefits and everything after the intro. But first, I want to apologize. It is insanely windy over here. It's like borderline tornado windy. So if you guys hear all the creaks and crap from the garage door, sorry, but is what it is. Let's roll that intro.
Riding down a YouTube channel, it's the riding down a YouTube channel, it's the riding down a YouTube channel, it's the riding down a thing that you found.
All right, so yeah, it's the DK Custom 606. Basically, this is one of the, it's essentially the same thing as the Arlen Ness Big Sucker. I'll put up two pictures now. It's very much the same thing. It's pretty much the same filter element. The differences lie within really how the backing plate and the adapter plate, all that kind of stuff is from the DK versus the Arlen Ness. The main reason I went with DK over any other filter or air cleaner really setup at all is a combination of two things. One, they make, and I've talked about this before, they make their external breather kits very easy to use, like made to use with their filters. Whichever one you order, it comes with, you know, like options to pick what style you want, and then you just basically add it like to your package, and it's very easy to add. And then two, they use very good filters. They use a K&N. It's a very high filter quality. And three, they're cheap. Just under $300 for this one. I think it was like $280 or something like that. There was no sales going on. I didn't get any kickback or anything like that. DK, if you want to sponsor me, I'm here, but I don't have anything from them currently. So yeah, and it's basically, it has an external breather system. For under $300. Now, I did go with the cheapest one, which is basically a naked filter, which they even say, if you don't believe me, you can run it naked with no cover, 100%, doesn't have any issue or whatever. And the reason I did that is because I'm going to buy a cheaper $30 or $40 cover from Amazon on a Chrome, basically any circle style air filter cover, like the Harley one, SNS Bobber style, and Arlen Ness style. Like all those are kind of pretty much universal. It's just one bolt in the center. All of those can fit on this filter setup because it bolts to the filter itself that has a metal plate on the top of it. I'm going to buy a chrome one and send it to my engraver that's going to engrave my Ride and Dad logo onto it, and then it'll sit here with that engraved in chrome. That is why I opted to go a little bit cheaper and run it without the top cover on it. But it's cheaper, also, and you can run it just like that. There's nothing wrong with that setup as is. The 606 air cleaner is the second most high performing one according to the DK website. The highest one is the one that's an elbow, which I actually put on my other Sportster. That one is supposed to ram more air into the setup a little bit more than the 606. But like I said, this is one of the best ones that you can get according to dyno sheets that they have posted on their website as well. And the other part that I want to talk about before we start this pretty easy install and takeoff kind of thing. And I'm going to sneeze, so let me cut to after I'm done sneezing. The other thing that I want to talk about is the external breather system. Now, a lot of different air filters have this setup that you can buy. My Trask on my M8 Softail had it as well. The main reason you want this, for those of you who don't know, and you'll see it when we take this gigantic cover off, there are two bolts, and this goes for really any of the, I can't speak for like panheads and shovel heads. I'm assuming same because it's a kind of general, typical V-twin setup. But at least I can definitely speak for the twin cams, the Evos, and the M8s. They have two bolts at the top of the cylinders, technically in the heads. Basically, your crankcase, which is where your lower side of your engine, for lack of, for layman's terms, for guys that have no idea what we're talking about, lower part of your engine kind of froths up oil, gets pressure sometimes. That pressure has to work its way out somewhere. That somewhere winds up being the breather bolts at your head. That's literally what they're called, breather bolts. They're for excessive pressure from the case to vent out. Part of that is blow-by, which is a different, I'll link the video now if I remember while I'm editing correctly. I'll link the video here that I talk about all that kind of stuff and explain it way more in detail. It's a whole video for that. But basically, oxygen depleted, oily, crappy air is spewed out, and it gets because of EPA, gets reverted, verted back in. That doesn't sound right. Gets rerouted. That's why it didn't sound right. Gets rerouted back into your intake to recycle it, basically, and that's because of the EPA environmental protection stuff. So there are a couple options you can do if you are in a state that doesn't allow you to do anything. If you want to be legal, then you can't do anything. But if you're in a state that doesn't do inspections and stuff like that, you can reroute it. So a lot of guys will route it to a filter. A lot of guys will route it to a catch can. On this bike especially. So here's the other thing. This one actually has a decent amount. And I think it's also just because the filter is so old and shot that it can't absorb really anything in there. But I had a little bit. It's why I ordered this sooner than later. I was going to wait on an air filter, but had a little bit leaking on the bottom, and it got on the exhaust and stuff. And it's harmless to get on you. It's, like I said, it's just like watery. It's almost like if you were to mix like a teaspoon of olive oil or motor oil with like a gallon of water. It's very water heavy, but it's just enough oil to be like smeary and gross. And then it's oxygen depleted. So you don't want that necessarily rerouting back into your intake, because that means you're having oxygen depleted air and oily donkey crap coming back into your engine. Now, if you go to DK's website, they have a bunch of pictures. If I remember, or I know how to do it and I got to find good enough pictures, I'll put them up now. They have a bunch of pictures showing valves, or not valves, well, valves too, I guess, but cylinder heads covered in carbon. And that's part of a huge part of the reason. It's just like sooty black crap caked on carbon. One, it's unhealthy for your engine. Two, over time, your tune is going to change and your engine's going to run poorly, because you're going to have a small but still difference in displacement where your cylinder head meets the heads. I feel like I'm having a stroke because there's stuff there. There's caked on, if that makes sense. So I've done enough talking, yapping. We're going to take it off. Very, very self-explanatory. We're going to take everything off, and then I'll come back and talk about the install of the new one, because it is somewhat specific. So let's get the takeoff started. Once you have your stock assembly, let me turn the light on, maybe help it. Yeah. Once you have the stock assembly off, this is the bracket that comes stock. You might have some different variation of it if you have a different filter or whatever. I do not believe you can use this one, and I'll show you what the difference is in a minute. I went ahead and did purchase because pretty sure you have to. But the DK one, which is like this. So it does come with a washer, or a gasket rather. I'm going to put the gasket there, and this is going to go here, and the breather bolts are going to be there and there. We're going to put the backing plate over that and screw it up with screws, but first we're going to clean off this surface and those nasty breather holes. Alright, now something to note, you do want to use blue thread locker on everything except these, which are the breather bolts. I always have used and had good luck using a plumber's tape. I use this kind of heavy-duty gray one from Home Depot. It's the only place I've ever been able to find it. It's just a plumbing, sealant tape. These are your holes, or your banjo bolts that are going to go in your breather bolt hose. Your breather bolts, basically. Use washers if you need them. I'm doing 2, that way the hole lines up good with that piece. Going to go ahead and put the, actually, you know what, let's do it step by step. So this is going to go, like this. Okay, so we're going to peel off the adhesive backing. Actually, technically, we're going to peel off the backing of the adhesive back, because if we peel the adhesive backing off, then we have nothing that's adhesive. Alright, peel that off. Make sure the holes line up good. And stick her down. And now we're going to go ahead and grab this piece, line this up. DK does say also if this piece is too far away from your head bolts, the breather bolt holes, to use washers. Don't just try to push it, because it's not going to go You know, it's only going to go so far before it doesn't work. And actually ours is, once that gasket, trying to determine how far away this is, once that gasket goes on there, I think it's going to be a little bit too far. So we're actually going to use one of those washers on the other part of that. Alright, so it's going to go like this. Our setup, we're going to have a washer behind there. This piece, which I'm going to choose to use, kind of spin it around that way. I don't think it matters which direction you go. And then the bolt goes through there. And we're going to start snugging her up. Just hand tight a little bit. We're going to get the other one started. The reason you don't want that is because you don't want that space is because these are your breather bolts. So if you have too much of a space, it's not going to seal up and you're going to get all that crappy oily air and watery substance all over the place, which is obviously something you do not want. Go ahead and tighten these up. Not super tight, but tight enough that it's close to snug. Don't even want really snug yet, and I'll show you why in a second. Just something to note, in case I forget to say it later on, this is where your hoses are going to go for your external breather kit if you do so choose, which I highly recommend to set that up. So you do want them kind of straight down, but you also don't want them so far down that you don't have enough room to put your zip tie and your pipe, your hose through there. So just something to think about. Now we're at the step where you would put this top plate up there, bolt everything down. However, these are not torqued down, and you'll see if we do that, we're not going to be able to torque those down properly because it covers it. So what I'm going to do is use these bolts as a placeholder, just so we make sure everything is lined up where it's supposed to be. Lightly screw them in a little bit. Just again to make sure everything is lined up properly. Now I'm going to go ahead and tighten these breather bolts down. But first, what I am going to do, because I think it's going to be really hard to get to it after the fact, is I am going to set this up. So basically this is the external breather setup. Zip tie it up there, cut it. This is going to go in there. Another piece down here, put it in here. And this is going to be pretty much right here. And you'll see when we put the plate on it, it's going to be completely hidden. All you're going to see is the very end that comes out that way. So let's go ahead and do this piece.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some patience.
Alright, now that we have that part done, we're going to go ahead and snug down these.
And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal.
That's done. Take these out. Make sure that you got a good amount of blue Loctite on these. These are really important. You'll see why in a minute. Take this back plate, line it up so that that is centered, and start putting these screws back in.
I'm so gone, no I'm never turning back. I won't stop, I'ma fight until there's nothing left. It's so on, you're gonna be hurting bad, cause I've been to hell and back. You don't wanna make me mad, I stay strong, you will never see me crack. And if you get in my way, you're gonna feel the wrath. Gotta say it to my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks after math, when I hate I attack.
Alright, you gotta make sure these are good and tight. Again, you'll see why in a minute. The last thing you want is these to come undone on you. But you also don't want to tighten them too hard that they strip out, because then they'll strip your throttle body, which is definitely not something that you want to happen. Alright, once those are good and tight, now it's time to put the filter on. Super easy, just make sure the holes line up. Filter comes pre-installed with a rubber, and hopefully you guys can see just how high quality this is. It's a K&N filter. You guys know I like K&Ns because they have been proven to have a lot of airflow through them. They're not as thick as others, but they are, in my opinion, still definitely thick enough that you don't have any issues with them. Going to go ahead and put 3 of these bolts. Let's see what size they are. 3 of the small ones in, and no, what am I doing? Blue Loctite. Loctite all things, always. Put some blue Loctite on there. Start putting these screws in their spot. Alright, it's important not to over tighten these screws, because then your filter is going to start to deform, and you'll see it when you start to over tighten it, especially with this one because it's so close to the edge. So that it feels all the same all the way around. Good to go on that. Now, the final step would be if you pick your cover, you use this big bolt, which I'm sure is not going to be the same size. No, of course not. That's going to be the one size up. You're going to use the big bolt and the included plastic washer. I want to put some Loctite on it, even though it's not its final tightened session. I don't want to lose it before I do that. You're going to put the cover on, whatever cover you choose, and put this bolt, or if your cover comes with a different bolt, or if you want to upgrade and whatever, that just puts the cover on that, and there you go. This is metal. You can run it exactly as is. K&N filter, pre-oiled, ready to go. We all done. So that's how simple this is. Super easy install. The only thing I will add, and you can select all different kinds of external breather, specs that you want when you're adding it. Mine, I just went ahead and got a filter. Like I said, I'm not going to use the filter, but this is what the filter looks like. I'm just going to run this out towards the end of the bike somewhere. I might even put it on the exhaust bracket down here on the bottom, in between, the passenger peg and the bracket. I'm just going to run it to atmosphere, let it just vent, because there's not really much of anything that comes out besides condensation of water. And truthfully, truth be told, you run over more liquid substances just on the road from passing cars than you are going to secrete from this, if your engine's normal. The other option is, as you can see, this is completely hidden right now, so you could run a catch can if you want. Catch can would just stick out. But basically, this is just going to look like this. It's going to go behind there. I'll tuck it behind those. Maybe even run it out the other side. Probably the other side, because that's the way the bike leans. That way it won't get on anything, potentially, if there's like a little bit of condensation. Not sure yet, but either way, there you have it. DK comes with these as well, instead of the zip ties if you want, and it does come with a plastic T connector. Another option is you can run both of these completely straight down and have 2 instead of 1 hose. Kind of endless, endless decisions if you want. This is 3/8 hose. You can get 3/8 fuel hose or oil hose on Amazon as well. Like, I've done that in the past. This bike, because it's a kind of chrome chopper style or whatever, I might go ahead and upgrade to some stainless steel braided lines. I think that'll look kind of cool and have them displayed. I think it would just mesh really well with how this is done. But yeah, pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think. I am really excited. I think it looks good. It's going to look even better with a chrome cover on there with the old Riding Dad chain and letter logo on there. But yeah, pretty easy, right? Let me know what you think in the comments. Check out the description for all the coupon codes. The link for this will be there. I don't have a coupon code for this, but link will be there. Coupon code Riding Dad gets you 10% off on everything Tugger Speed. Go check them out. Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff is in my description as well. If you want to have a conversation with me or send me pictures asking me about something or whatever, Instagram is by far the easiest way to do it. I always respond to you guys all the time there. Like this video. Make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications, all that. Thank you in advance. It really does help me and the channel out, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, and until the next time, ride safe, have fun, Dad